Ex-homeless people of Reddit, where did you go during the day? During the morning, I was doing job interviews and driving between counties depending on what day it was. During the afternoon, I would go to a local dollar theater and prepay for 3 or 4 showings of whatever movie wouldn't drive me insane, then sit in the farthest back corner with earplugs and a sleeping mask and sleep. I just want to say something about what it is like being homeless. To answer your question quickly, the days are easy, you carry on as normal. Go to the gym, study, work, normal things you always do out. It is the nights that are hard. I was homeless for a very short period of time and only spent one night outside in that period, in a woods. I'm good at shelters. You feel worthless. The episode in Breaking Bad, when Jess is homeless in one of the early seasons, shows it really well. Lots of your friends say you can stay over, but don't actually offer. So what I want to say is, if you have a friend end up in a similar situation to me, insist they stay at yours. Don't offer, insist. It removes the horrible part in their brain that makes them feel like a parasite or lazy or worthless, and instead like an equal friend. And that is really important at times like that. Work. I was homeless, but not jobless. Same here. The job I had, the amount of hours I worked each day changed a ton. As an independent contractor, some days would work for 12 to 15 hours and others would be off in 3 to 4. I used to go park outside a McDonald's, Tim Hortons or some other places that had Wi-Fi and sit in the parking lot on my laptop. Or whenever my laptop or phone was low on charge, I would go inside one of them and get something super cheap and chill and charge them. Another great place was the public library. Go read some books or check out a book and go to a park and read. All my friends and family were 50+ miles away, and the gas at the time was crazy expensive, so would only go see any of them on weekends. They didn't know I was living in my truck at the time. I had a friend who was homeless for years. He would surf couches at a lot of different people's apartments. He was also a student at the time and spent a lot of time at the University of Wisconsin library connected to Wi-Fi. Public libraries can be a good place if you're homeless. I worked at a video store in a mall. I would use the employee-only bathroom in the mall to wash my clothes in the sink after hours. That job was the only thing that gave me a reason to hope for the future back then. To this day, I don't think any of my coworkers had any idea I was homeless while I was working there. On my days off, I would walk down to an abandoned house I knew about and squat in the upstairs part of the house during winter. I had a small microwave someone had thrown away. I had cleaned it up and fixed its power supply with some wiring I was able to buy from Radio Shack back when they sold things like that. I was able to use an extension cord to plug a power strip into the back of the neighboring house's garage. I don't think they ever noticed it. I had accumulated a few small creature comforts in that house. A camping lamp that plugged in for light. A small space heater someone threw out next to a dumpster. I was amazed to find it still worked. I would stay in one of the inner bedrooms with a boarded up window I had sealed with plastic sheeting. Even with the light on, you couldn't see it from the outside. The house was on a rundown property that was all locked and boarded up. I got in by climbing a tree in the backyard and using a large branch to crawl across to an unlocked window on the second floor. I was paranoid, so I would always make sure no one was ever around before approaching the property. I survived 2 winters in that abandoned house. I always worried someone who owned the property would show up one day while I was there, but no one ever did. I don't drink and never did drugs or any of the other trappings that homeless people fall into. I also was too embarrassed about my situation to make any friends or hang out with anyone. So for that period of my life, I was pretty much a hermit. I didn't socialize with anyone. Eventually, I was able to change my circumstances. I was able to get a better job. I also lucked into a roommate situation in a pretty nice apartment. Not exactly rags to riches or anything, but a great deal of an improvement. That roommate ended up becoming one of my closest friends and eventually was the best man at my wedding. I'm now 40 years old, happily married for 13 years with a full-time job. I have often thought about driving down to see if that house is still there, but I'm content to leave that part of my life in the past. Not me, but my mother. When she was homeless as a child, late 70s, early 80s, she, her brother, and her sister would spend all day walking around the city. They would go to all the grocery stores, offer to take people's groceries to their cars for a quarter, and then go and buy their breakfast/lunch, usually a Little Debbie snack and a Coke. They made friends with an old homeless man named Bill who would occasionally give them $1 or $2 for food and ask where their mother was. Whenever they weren't looking for food, they would go to the train yard, hop on a train, hop off when it started getting dark, and get on the next one that looked like it was headed back to the city. At night they'd find their mom at a bar or on some corner, and they'd either couch surf or find an abandoned building to squat in. It's funny because when she would tell me these stories, there's a ton more. As a child, I thought it sounded like a cool adventure, like something from the Boxcar Children, but as an adult it sends shivers down my spine. Luckily, because their mother never sent them to school, my mom and her siblings were sent to foster care when she was 9. She's the reason I work for size now. Homeless twice, going on 3 times. Primarily work. I was lucky enough to be juggling 2 jobs at the time from 7 AM to 7 PM, and I hit the lottery by having one of them be in a gym. I would finish my shift, shower, then head to a sit-down coffee shop, the library, or a casual restaurant and pull out my laptop until closing. On weekends, more library, more coffee shops, sometimes just sitting around in public places observing. I strolled around on my favorite walking trails, hung out in the backs of bars, mingled with city crowds going nowhere in particular. Then of course at night I had my own little nook in my car and curled up under a street light with a book until I passed out. Parks or the library. If I had free time, a lot of my time was spent waiting in line in soup kitchens, waiting for social services, waiting for laundry, waiting for day labor. If I had nothing else to do and didn't feel like the humiliation of panhandling, I'd get a library book to read in a park or the library. I also had a smartphone, which while it didn't have phone service, I could still use to get online. I was a homeless Redditor once upon a time. Obligatory not I, but knew a kid who was homeless for pretty much a year and a half of college. He flunked out of a prestigious school. His rich father cut him off, wrecked his Supra. Once again rich father couldn't pay his credit card and somehow ended up at my not so Notre Dame University where he still had a few friends left over from high school, close to his hometown. Moved in with some of these high school buddies. It didn't work out / they were pretty toxic. He also couldn't make his share of rent when the bills came along, so they booted him. Kid entered as a 22Y/0 sophomore. I met him in a freshman level biology class. He got a job working in one of the school's older recreation facilities. The place was a ghost town. Sat at a desk all damn day when he wasn't in class. Made money while studying the day away and occasionally handing out racquetball court keys. He had his own lockers, plural, to put his stuff. Free place to shower and work out, a university TV to watch, a computer at the desk to use, snacked on the protein bars and sports drinks off the shelf. Boss didn't care for food and put up a BRB sign and walked across the street into a dorm complex where he did his laundry. He slept on couches, in the library, and even said racquetball courts in a pinch. He usually had a place to stay. I can attest he slept on my couch a couple of times. His half-brother came to our school the year after I met him, but lived in a freshman dorm. I think he slept on his futon as much as possible without getting caught by the rap. I sincerely think he voluntarily lived homeless after the first half year because he was trying to save up and get ahead. Made enough money to get a place of his own, got financial aid and bills in line, even quit smoking for more saving. I graduated early and moved on. Found out he then knocked up his girlfriend and got right back into a financial hole. Eventually he got into med school, took the military scholarship the day he got accepted to med school, and was finally 100% financially stable. He's doing great trauma surgeon saving soldiers' lives. I don't think he's proud of his story. He really effed up. I don't think too many people really knew him through this time. He was obviously quite a loner. It's the true riches to rags to riches fairytale. Insert Cinderella reference. The guy was always smart. He just made some dumb decisions. The same dumb decisions a lot of kids make that ruin or drastically change their lives. It took him years to get his GPA to a level where he could make it into professional school. He ended up staying for a master's degree to improve his CV. I must say he was persistent. Like others have said, there are resources at your disposal. Use what you're dealt, and homeless doesn't mean dumb, poor, or jobless. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe.